and the people watching.
Anyway, welcome to the intro
Of episode 29 of the podcast.
God,
I'm Chris.
we've surpassed my age. I'm Phil.
Oh, we're one away from my age now. So this episode turned into an accidental
All news episode. We apologize.
This is probably, the name of this episode is probably going to be
Accidental sex.
hard copy, because the last one was a current affair.
Okay, that's fine.
Not that anybody actually pays attention to the titles or the descriptions. You will be delighted at the perfect transitions that we weave throughout the tapestry of this episode.
It's like we planned it.
Yeah.
But we didn't. It's all...
Yeah, I know you're not going to believe us, guys, but we did not script this.
Yeah.
It is 100% improvised.
So, in brief, what did we talk about? We talked about VR.
We talked about some of the news that came out of the CDC, GDC and PAXeast.
And CDC.
Yeah, and the CDC because of the zombie outbreak.
Yeah. So
By the time you hear this, you'll know about the zombie outbreak. So we talked about Mortal Kombat. We talked about
Rock Band,
Quantum Break, Wolfenstein,
EA,
new indie games.
We talked about a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff, guys.
We don't need to cover it all here because you'll clearly listen to the full episode.
Right.
Hopefully, our next episode, there won't be so much news.
There definitely won't be as much news. I can tell you that right now.
And we can actually tell you about all the wonderful things that are happening in our lives.
Yep.
But until then, enjoy this episode.
Yeah. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter.
Yep.
And Fun Podcast.
Shit, we gotta play now.
Yeah.
But when they have the full team, they're like, nah, someone else will do it.
Right. Certainly that's what happens when it comes to defense.
Yeah.
They're like, somebody else will do it.
Somebody else will do it. We don't need to play. Welcome back to the episode that hasn't started yet.
Welcome back, guys. Thanks for making it all the way through the intro and not the new theme song. What do you think of the outro that I've added?
I like it.
I was sitting on it for a while, and I decided to just throw it on there.
Yeah. No, I like it.
Yeah.
It's good. Since we normally just ramble at the end anyway, it's a good, officially this is over.
Yeah, so people know.
Yeah.
Instead of just the abrupt.
Yeah. Don't touch your penis, and then it ends.
Yep.
Like I said, I like the weird things you've been doing to the podcast. The rewind, the last episode.
Yeah.
The rewind to play the little... whatever we said to end it, and then putting money in the background.
Yeah.
Priceless.
It makes it easier when we reference something for me to do, so I don't have to think of crazy things to do.
Yeah.
But,
so you're just saying this episode we should just constantly reference... Should you just
make
you work?
Yeah.
Now play the third song off of the Deep Cuts. We started the episode.
Yeah, we started, but I guess I'm Chris.
Yeah, I'm Phil.
And I want to start off the episode by saying thanks to Craig Jarrett. For a while now, every week, every other week, for Follow Fridays on Twitter, he always throws our name up there, and we've yet to give him a shout out. So I just thought he deserved it.
For sure. I don't understand Twitter.
I know.
How it works. So
I think all of our fans know that we don't understand
for
Twitter.
the longest time, I was like, "What does FF mean? Does that
Yeah.
mean friendly faces? Because that's what it should mean."
Yep.
Or flaming. And then we can't say it. And
Yeah.
I was just like, well, now I don't like that.
That reminded me of something else.
Oh, that shouldn't.
Yeah.
It really shouldn't. Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess just to follow with the Twitter thing, we had a couple of responses for co-op games, right? Last week was the list episode.
Yeah, we didn't get any new co-op game options. We just got some backups for the co-op games we listed.
Yeah.
Gauntlet Legends.
Yep. Halo.
Halo 1 through 3.
Yep.
As well as another one. Rock Band. There's some talk about Rock Band.
Some talk about Rock Band.
And how I guess that can feed right in. Let's just go right into news.
Well, before that, I just want to thank everybody
right.
for actually using the hashtag #FullPenny.
Yeah. And the pity tag.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. But, Jake's used it. Some other people have used it too.
Yeah.
So I think 4 or 5 people have used it over the last week or two.
Probably
so now
trending.
it's probably trending number 1.
Yeah. If it's not number 1, it's
Yeah.
like at least top 5. Transition to news.
Sure, why not?
Dun, news.
I mean, I feel like this is our first episode because we're very sloppy right now.
For sure. I've been up for almost 21 hours now.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Everyone, let's take a second, pause the recording, and sing happy birthday.
Yeah.
You're 43 now.
Yep. The big 4-3.
Yep. What'd your kids do for you?
My kids?
Yeah, did they take you out? Did you go to DB
Well,
zone?
I mean, I usually don't let them out of the basement.
Yeah.
So, I celebrated it in their honor, basically.
Oh, okay.
I bought a bunch of gifts for myself.
That's cool.
And signed their name to it.
Yeah. You can see us in Jake's update video for a hot second playing some Killer Queen. It's literally a hot second.
Yeah.
He just brings the camera up and I'm staring at the camera.
Yeah.
I'm the fat guy in a white jacket.
Yeah.
And then it's all about, it's for Eliza's birthday.
Yeah, Eliza's birthday was, as of the recording of this, last Saturday.
Yeah.
So we went to Logan Arcade, a bunch of us, and you got to play Killer Queen for the first time.
We did.
Woo woo! So let us know about that. Let's talk about that for at least a half an hour.
Okay. Well, wow, for a half hour.
At least.
You and Craig oversold it.
Not true.
You were like, this is God's gift to arcades and women.
Nope. If you go back and listen to the episodes, you'll know that's not true. Yeah.
I already listened to them once.
Yeah.
And I recorded them. That's too many times. No, it was super fun.
We said it was the best arcade game there. Which, do you agree with? It's the best, new arcade game.
Oh, for sure.
We like that it's a new game, and we like that, out of all the arcade games there, it's pretty great.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
It always draws a crowd.
Right.
It's I don't have anything against it.
Right.
I think there was all this build up. The first thing when me and Caitlin walked into the arcade was Jake was like, say hello to, Eliza, and I'm going to walk you to the Killer Queen arcade cabinet.
Well, okay.
We're going to be playing this later.
Yeah.
And then, anytime you even say it in the entire Logan arcade, Craig will show up
That was
behind
fantastic. We were just standing there, and Craig showed up out of nowhere. It's like, did someone say Killer Queen?
Yeah.
You guys want to play Killer Queen?
And then next thing you know, we're in line to get our shot. No, it's a super fun game. It's obviously better, like any game, since it's 5-on-5, is to try and, have a team that can communicate. You don't even all have to know each other. You just have to have people who are, willing to, take and give orders.
Yeah.
Because there were a couple times, I think before you got there, where we had, a queen who wanted to go for kills, nonstop, but, would die twice, and then we're so close to winning by, the berry method or something else, and then he goes and gets his ass killed. You should just be hiding in a corner and letting us do the rest, unless you're super in danger, and then you should be saying something so then we can switch. But let me back up. For those who didn't listen to the Craig episode or know what Killer Queen is, it's a 5-on-5 game. It's two-sided, so you can't see the other team, but you guys are both looking at essentially a communal screen that shows everything. 2 different colors. One person's a queen, which can fly and can attack. But only things below it, not above it or to the side.
Yeah.
Everyone else is kind of drones. Yeah. There's multiple ways to win. You can either collect all the berries and fill a berry hole. You can ride a snail to a goal, or you can kill the queen 3 times.
Yeah. And the only way to kill a queen is to be a knight. So take one of your little berries to one of the stations, become a knight, and then you can fly also.
Yeah, there's a lot of little nuanced stuff, and there's a lot of little strategies you can work out. But it was super fun. It's just like I said, it all, like any big game like that, it really just depends on the people you're playing with.
Yeah.
And to some degree the people you're playing against. Because if you're playing against a team of well-oiled machines, then it could probably get pretty frustrating pretty quickly.
When you guys left, we actually played some other guys, and they were running plays and shit. It was crazy. And, they were really good. What they did, too, is... because I switched, I wasn't queen anymore. And they they basically turn everybody into a knight, like almost instantly, and then have all the knights and the queen camp our spawn. So every time that the queen spawned, they would instantly kill. Anytime the little guys, the bears would spawn, anytime the queen would spawn, they would kill it. And then they had one other guy go for the snail. They were just trying to force a snail victory because they could. And because you couldn't do anything. You couldn't get away from, 4 knights and a queen, so.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's all, like I said, it's all dependent. I mean, was it super fun? Was it the best arcade game there? Well, of course. Because, the other arcade games are obviously old arcade games, which still are great. But at the same time,
they're dated and you've played them a million times.
Yeah.
So.
There's only so many times I can play, the Simpsons arcade game.
Yeah.
And keep pumping in quarters when you die every,
10 seconds.
Yeah. Minute tops that you can go along. It was nice. It was my first time at Logan Arcade.
Yeah.
I was glad to see that the games were only $0.25 apiece.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I brought a lot of money assuming that it was going to kind of be like a Dave and Buster's kind of rinkside and gurney kind of thing, where it's just games are going to cost $1.50 or $2.15 or some weird.
Or David and Buster's
points.
37 cents because it's points. So it's
and so I didn't even go through $20 playing for 3 hours, something like that. I mean, I still had mounds of quarters in my pockets,
right,
and a couple mounds of bars.
I
don't even know where
they came from. Yeah.
But it was fun. It was good times. Would I go there again? Maybe. It's in a shitty part of area.
Right.
Parking sucks.
Yeah.
And restaurants around there kind of suck.
Last time we went on a weekday, and obviously that was a lot better as far as parking and as far as how many people are there.
Yeah.
There was still enough to easily play Killer Queen, which was fun, but other than that, it wasn't elbow to elbow people all the time, which is kind of annoying when you're trying to play games.
Well, especially when you get people who are just kind of camping on certain machines.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, everyone wants to play everything, but there's we got there, and I was with my buddy, and we were just we want to get on that X-Men machine.
That's a great game.
And that was we saw the same 4 people there for pretty much the entire night, which is fine if you want to just play that game and beat it. It's great. I know you have to keep popping quarters in.
Yeah.
But if you're just going to sit around there too and use that as your drink coaster while you're snacking on pizza.
Yeah.
All right. Step aside.
I saw the guys set up at Street Fighter also. They were there all night.
Yeah.
So
it's those are good ones. I don't want to just be playing Food Fight.
Right.
All night.
That's a good game though. It's fun.
I never played it.
You never played it? Caitlin played it.
Yeah, Caitlin played that, and she played some other food-related game.
Yeah.
But cool.
Yep. So do you want to go back into Rock Band news then?
Sure. As once again, our rule of wasting a great transition.
Yeah.
Rock Band 4 officially confirmed.
Right. I mean, after they heard our podcast, they went ahead and decided to announce the game because they figured the cat was out of the bag.
Yeah, well,
they already told our hundreds of thousands of listeners.
They're this isn't fun anymore. I already broke the news. So, let's not even have an event or anything. I mean, I knew this was coming.
It wasn't that it was going to happen. It was...
They're obviously saying that the songs are pretty much going to carry over, but it's going to be platform... you can't get the PS4 version if you have the Xbox version.
Right.
That's not going to transfer.
Because all the licenses were tied to your gamer tag and all that stuff. So, they can only tell if you bought it for whatever thing. You can't be I bought it for Xbox, but now I have a PS4. I want it on PS4. It's there's no way to prove that.
Yeah.
Also, for whatever reason, the Rock Band 3 on disc songs will not transfer over because of licensing issues, which is weird because I guess I don't know why the first 2 games are.
Well, not all the songs on the first 2 games either. After the first game, Metallica dropped off. You can't do any Metallica songs, and they even took those songs off the store.
Yeah,
Run to the Hills from the cover band of Iron Maiden.
Yeah,
so they're onesies and twosies that would come off. But it's weird that the whole. That's why I think it's weird because it's the last one. You think they would have made the most flexible deal for that one? Yeah. I think we'll probably see a lot of those songs come back. Is probably just
Yeah,
a
well, they
giant
said they
hack.
could change,
Yeah.
but they just said right now they would have to reissue the
Yeah.
license. And then they also announced the instruments. So they are working on an adapter, I guess, because they said they want people to have the choice.
Yep.
But then they showed the new instruments, and they look pretty much identical to the last ones.
They're not. They didn't blow me away.
They,
when I looked at
I
them.
mean, they like if you didn't do a side by side comparison, you wouldn't really notice a difference between
I
the
think,
last
like,
generation ones.
There's the one where it's like you can get like different colors, right? For like the guitars.
Yeah, so
like,
that's-
you
yeah.
could order like the red Fender in the
Yeah,
know,
you can get like red, white,
And then, like, they're
black,
black, yeah.
and then maybe one other custom color. But
Yeah, but those are all like you have to order special,
Yeah.
which is fine. I mean, obviously, if you're dedicated and you're going to get it anyway, why not order so you can get a cool color?
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, me and Chris too were getting in such a heated Twitter debate. He agrees with you, or I don't even know if you agree with that.
Well,
but like he wants
yeah.
kind of the Dance Central idea where
Spotlight,
just it
right.
comes out like a smaller version. You pay X amount of dollars, and maybe it has new songs because he's I agree with him on the principle where it's like they've kind of perfected what they're going to do. It's just a scrolling note chart. Like there's not much innovation.
yeah.
But I still stand by my stance that if they did that, then just release DLC for like Rock Band 3 or this new version, and then if I wanted to get back into it, I'd just load up my old console.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess like that's where I kind of stand. Like I'm excited for Rock Band because I really loved Rock Band. Obviously, if we take apart the fact that I don't even have a new system,
Right.
it's just like, what would get me to spend another, even the base game at $60 if, let's say, the stuff carries over, the instruments.
Yeah.
What would get me to spend a $60 base game for, whatever, 60 tracks that I'm not picking myself, there's gonna be garbage in there.
Yeah.
Because there's always garbage on the disc, depending on your taste, because they try and make it so broad.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't know what they can do that would just be like, yes, this is Rock Band 4.
Well, that's why maybe the more I think about it, the more it makes sense to do that other model where if you've transitioned to the new generation consoles, the next gen new generation, and you already have that huge catalog, so they're basically like, hey, do you want to pay $10 to be able to play all of your songs that you created, you like built up your catalog for last generation? And they'd be like, yeah, like I don't want to pay $60 to basically play the same game as before, but I pay $5 or $10 and then be able to play all my songs now for this generation of
But it wouldn't
consoles.
be. It'd be $5 or $10 to like import. It's not gonna be like. They're not gonna
No,
release
no.
like a $5 or $10 game, and then they're
No,
gonna,
well, that's what they did for Dance Central.
wasn't it like 30?
No, it was $10. It was $9.99,
Oh, okay. For
and
some
then you
reason I
got
thought it
all
was,
your
like,
old songs.
$30 or something like that. But
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
So they give you that. They give you like 10 songs or whatever, and then you get huge. You can download all of the DLC if you didn't have it, and all the stuff you already paid for on the last generation you got for free. So
I mean, I guess because they haven't really confirmed nor denied what they're gonna do.
right,
So I guess it's like a wait and see. I'm still torn because again, I feel like this was the perfect like dorm room
yeah,
game, and now that it's just like past that, like $10 would be an okay price to get it and you play it for a couple nights,
yeah.
just so you can play it on your Xbox One or your PlayStation 4. But like if I was to really get into Rock Band again, I'd just be like,
I doubt it's going to happen though.
Yeah.
So
you never know.
yeah.
There's no time like the present.
But they said, I mean, they released a little like making of behind the scenes thing too, and they were basically all like super psyched for it. Of course, they're not gonna be like, "This is stupid. I don't know why we're doing this."
They
But
interviewed
they were
that
like,
one guy.
they were
This
kind of
is a
saying
nightmare.
that they're innovating in ways that they're excited for. They did things on this that they wanted to do for Rock Band 3, but weren't allowed to.
Ooh,
Because
a lot
more
more nudity.
Well, no, because they're like, MTV owned them when they came out with Rock Band 3, and they had their own ideas of what they should do.
Yeah.
And they didn't say, they're not bad ideas, but we would have taken it in a different direction for the third installment.
Yeah,
So,
well, I just think it's going to be nudity. I think there's going to be,
It's gotta be.
as opposed to like a star rating, it's going to be a groupie rating.
Yeah.
And at the end of every song, like whatever your groupie rating is it just it cuts to like a full penetration sex scene
right.
of those groupies. Like maybe you got a 5-star groupie rating. It's like 5 groupies and your band all just having sex. It's like orgy.
Yeah. Speaking of which, did you see the Kotaku article today about like there's apparently this company that like makes like porn based on the cinematics of video games?
I saw the headline. I didn't click into it because I was like, I don't want this on my history.
Yeah, no, I didn't. There was videos attached to the article. I just kind of skimmed the article to see what it was about because it had a really clickbait title anyways. So I'm like, is this really what it says it is? And yeah, apparently there's this company that spends a lot of money. Like it looks like they get high res like CG to match whatever the game engine is, and then they make like a full like story. They're like 20 to 30 minutes long, and they'll like take something like the only example that I read was they took like this one scene from the remake of Tomb Raider that came out like a year or two ago, and instead of her like getting away from something, she gets captured, and then she gets like gang raped by like all those guys and stuff. I was like, okay, I don't know what the audience for this is, but what it seemed to be the trend with all of them was because there was a lot of like Japanese games and all this other stuff. It was all like rape. It was non-consensual. All the stuff. So it's like even more of a niche audience, I guess. Like I don't know who this is for.
I mean,
like we've talked about it before, like all the like cartoon porn and stuff, but like. I don't know who wants.
Now, not only is it cartoon porn, but it's non-consensual cartoon porn.
Right.
So you're like, okay, I was into the porn where they gave consent.
Yeah.
But now I kind of.
But now I have
dirty.
to be into some other sort of kink as well.
I didn't read it. I'm glad I didn't read it, and I think we should.
I only made like a paragraph or two in. It just another perfect transition that we had to abide.
Yeah. We got a good substantial bit of news.
Yeah,
that we could probably go into.
Yeah, do you want to keep doing news?
You want me to?
I mean, I got something else that's sort of a transition from the full penny.
I don't got any transitions.
Okay. There's sort of been a rumor that they're gonna remake or do a new version of Clay Fighter. I don't know if you ever played Clay Fighter.
I heard that too, that they were gonna remake.
But as soon as they said that, I'm like, oh yeah, Bad Mr. Frosty totally would have been the best character for the game that we made up for 3-Word Pitch with full penetration. Like that's basically who we ended up describing. And there was also like a bad fat Santa Claus in that game also in 63 1/3.
Yeah, well, like all of Clay Fighter is just a bad and then
I know
blank bad Johnny 5.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I don't want to like Clay Fighter sucked as a fighting game. It was unique the first time I played it. It was worth a rental, like a Blockbuster 2-day rental.
Yeah.
But it is awful compared to every other fighting game ever.
Right.
Like you look at like, Mortal Kombat 10 and Street Fighter and, Tekken and DOA, like all of those should continue and Clay Fighter should remain done.
Hidden.
Yeah.
Hidden away.
Like, it had a cool idea. They were all clay, and that's unique.
Yeah, like the art style was cool. Like the character designs were cool.
But it was cool back then because the graphics sucked anyway. So like clay graphics, it like matched. It's just
it made it look cool because they couldn't do 3D graphics back then.
Yeah.
So to have like a claymation guy was like the future.
Yeah, but now that like you're gonna do Clay Fighter on like the Unreal Engine, and it's gonna look look really weird.
Yeah. Also, the whole idea of like a stop motion fighting game at this point is kind of interesting. Like if they were to do fake stop motion like they did like the Lego Movie, but to do it with like claymation, because
that'd be so much more work.
I know, exactly.
More work than them making.
But it would be confusing too because like fighting games, especially if they go like the more like Street Fighter or more competitive, it's all about like frame rate and stuff. Like everybody knows like how many frames it takes to like recover for something or do a throw. So if the frames are all jumpy and jittery, it'd be super confusing.
Yeah, well, then no one would pick it up because they're like, I can't even practice to get good at this because it's janky.
Yeah.
Good times.
Well, should we just jump on this transition bandwagon? I got some Mortal Kombat news if you want to talk about that.
Go for it.
So it's about a month away from coming out, Mortal Kombat X, and so more and more stuff has been coming out. I guess the press have played the storyline.
Have they picked up on our Jake Jarvie for
MPAX
yet?
I don't know. We you just kind of said it like offhanded when we were giving examples, but obviously I think the Pops crew would make good characters in Mortal Kombat. I mean, you could. The problem is, What?
I don't know about all of them, because some of them would just get brutally murdered.
Well, yeah, of course. Like, you would have to transform them into characters that would make sense in the world.
Well, like, I'm just thinking,
but I mean,
like,
you know, Donald
Jake's power of
is
being
everything.
able to,
He
like,
can do everything.
blow up people's heads,
Yeah.
fits in Mortal Kombat.
Right.
Donald would just be Raiden.
He's Raiden. That's the thing. He is Raiden, so
Yeah.
he's got all those powers.
But I don't know if Eliza's character of just being able to kind of control time
Yeah.
would work.
But she has
in Mortal
portals and
Kombat.
stuff.
She'd just pop up behind him. It'd
Yeah.
just be the Scorpion move where it's like, woohoo, and you're just behind him.
Yeah, I mean, there's other characters that have portals and stuff, but
I don't think
yeah.
so. I think anyway, continue with your news. We got sidetracked.
So there, you know, there's a pretty in-depth story. The last one that came out in 2011 had a good story. So this one, if you don't know, so Mortal Kombat 9, I guess, which came out in 2011, was kind of a reimagining of the first three games because those were the best.
Sure.
So it was like, I don't know, Raiden had this like flashback. He basically gets killed in the opening cutscene, but right before he does, he like sends his consciousness back to him in the first game. So you replay the first three games, but with him having the knowledge of what's going to happen, but he only has like parts of it and stuff. So basically you play through all that again. Some stuff happens the same, some things are different.
Because I think if there's one thing I would certainly remember from the early Mortal Kombat is that their story. So I'd definitely be able to go like, oh, this happened the exact same way.
Right. I know what you're saying, but there was actually a lot of text-based story. Like, whenever you do something, anytime you got, like, an ending. Yeah. When you got an ending, there was, like, a whole thing, and there was, like, supposedly true endings to it and stuff. But anyways, this game takes place 25 years after those games. So because of that, they've kind of had the new generation of, like, old fighters and stuff. Like, Cassie Cage is one of the characters, and she's the daughter of Johnny Cage and Sonya Blade.
Okay.
Then there's, like, Kotal Kong, which is kind of like an Aztec version of Shere Khan.
This is Tiny Toon Adventures.
Yes.
Where it's just
pretty
like
much.
It's all the kid versions of the people that you love.
And it's like Jax has a daughter and she's in it now too.
It's Muppet Babies.
Which is fine. Like,
Can I just keep listing 90 shows about babies?
Yeah.
Muppet Babies was
But I think that's interesting that they're using, like, not just story wise, but like fighting wise. Like, it's cool because Cassie Cage has the mix of moves of like Sonya and Johnny Cage, so that's cool. But what they announced today was that both Johnny Cage and Sonya are also in the game too. Yeah, so then it's like, what's the point?
Yeah, I feel like they're almost, and I like the way they're going with this. So this is going to sound like a hit.
Yeah.
But it's not. I feel like they're just padding the roster. They're like, we have Johnny Cage and Sonya because everyone loves them, and now let's just create another character that's new, so we can say we have new characters that's really just a hybrid.
But I think they kind of did it backwards. Like, they had, like, she was maybe one of the first announced characters was the daughter.
Well, I imagine they already had everything up before they started announcing. So they probably, put all their fighters in that everybody knows. Like, obviously Raiden's going to be it, and Johnny Cage is going to be it, and all these characters, and they're like, well, people might get sick of these. Let's add some new characters. And those are, of course, the ones that they want to announce first. Because they're just like, this is a new fighting game. We got new characters.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's just a way to get, from 15 fighters to 30 fighters real quick. Because you just start going like, this is Jax and Billy combo. Which is a good thing because obviously more characters, great, more play styles, cool things can happen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, I almost would want you to reimagine a whole new character than just like, here are the Muppet Babies.
Well, like, I thought it was cool
Unless
that they did
put the Muppet Babies in,
yeah.
Then
Muppet Babies for Mortal Kombat X.
Hashtag.
But yeah, I thought it was cool that they did like the next generation of fighters because it's like, oh, it still sort of has the identity of those other people. Like, oh, this still feels like Mortal Kombat. This still has to do with those characters, but they're completely new and have different moves and stuff. I think they added it because of the story, because there's an intense story that has to do with those other people. That's why they're in it also. But like, to be to be 25 years old, I mean, the kids are like, they're not like babies. They're at least of fighting age. So the parents got to be like 40, 50 at least. So for them to also be fighting just is kind of weird and doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't.
since
But
they're
then but it's a fighting
mortals
game.
from humans. No, I know.
Like every fighting game has like an 80-year-old man who you can like be as your.
Oh
fighter.
no, I have no problem as far as like just fighting games go. Like
Yeah.
but because they're like, oh, we're gonna have like a real story and all this stuff. There's a lot of cutscenes. And,
It's certainly weird that Mortal Kombat is going like, we're gonna go story hard on this one, guys.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna turn this into like, this is gonna be canon. Like people are gonna
Right.
really talk about how great our story is. Just
well,
like,
I mean, they did it for the last game. It worked, and they did it sort of for
But I think
Injustice: Gods Among Us, and it worked too.
it worked because I think the fighting engine was strong. I don't know if I mean
you didn't play
I played a little Injustice.
No, but of the Mortal Kombat story.
No, I didn't play Mortal Kombat. But I mean, like, from the people who play Mortal Kombat, how many people are just like, dude, the story.
Yeah.
How many people just skip that and just be like, I want to rip somebody's head off and see a close-up of blood dripping off their spine? I feel like if you look at percentages, it's like 80-20 to I just want to kill something versus I'm here to enjoy this.
Well, it's the whole like multiplayer versus single player debate, I guess.
Which
it's
I
the
still feel is
same
80-20.
people though.
The
Yeah.
20% who want to play single player do maybe want to look at the story, but that 80% is not going to give a shit.
Yeah.
So I think it's weird that that's such a strong focus.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Yeah.
I'm not against it.
Yeah.
As a single player person, I'm in favor of it.
Yeah.
It's just weird to see a company do that, especially when they already are trying to make this an esport. Like, it's Mortal Kombat X is already going to be at some of these, entertainment setups.
Yeah. I mean, I know the focus is the gameplay and the fighting and all that stuff, so I have no problem with them adding a story to it. Especially because, like, the way they did it for Mortal Kombat 9 was, like, you played through this long... It was like I don't know how many hours, but it was, like, a certain thing that was broken up into chapters and everything, and there would be cutscenes where they'd show what was happening, then your character would go and do something, and then you would have to fight. Like, you would talk to somebody in a cutscene, or you would fight with them, and then you would have to, move on from there. So it's like you didn't have control of the characters you picked. You had to play one of the sides that was going throughout the story.
And this is... old. I remember the last Mortal Kombat game I played was versus DC.
Right.
And the same thing. You pick which side you're going to be on, and then there's a story, and you don't get to pick your character. You're just like, at this point, Scorpion's fighting
That was kind
Batman.
of the start of it, right?
And then the next level, if you're still on the MK side, you're just like, and here is Raiden versus,
Unfortunately, that was a bad game, but it sort of had the same idea. Also, they announced Brutalities a little bit ago. So Brutalities in the past have been basically ultra combos, which were combos that went on forever. Like, it was like a huge button presses that you had to do, and they would just keep going until they made the person explode or something ridiculous. And now they're kind of like quick enders that are seamlessly into the fighting or into the combos that you're doing. So you normally, at the end of 2 rounds, it says, finish him. The screen goes all dark, and you have time to do your little button presses. But this is you have to seamlessly do it at the end of whatever you're doing. So the last move to get the guy's health down has to be this brutality, and it does something quick. It's usually sort of a play on a normal move or a special move or a throw or something that turns brutal. So it's just one little quick thing. They said there's over 100 in the game, so it's I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
but they're cool. It's fun, and it's one of those moments that it's not the gruesomeness, the ridiculousness of a fatality, but if you think the guy's doing a normal move, and then he throws you, but he rips your arm off when he throws you, and something like that. So
I'd like my character to get up and then just fight one hand.
Yeah, it's just shoulder into him.
Yeah. I mean, that'll be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I've already been told that I can't get it.
Because Caitlin saw the video of some of the stuff when Conan was playing.
Yeah. And she was just like, you can't get this. You can't, in good conscience, you can't support this.
Yeah.
But I mean, it looks fun.
Yeah. You can come over and play.
Yeah, I'll play every once in a while.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely going to get that probably day one.
Day one?
Yeah. Because if you pre-order, you get Goro.
Whoa.
I want to play as Goro.
Or he's $45 DLC.
Yeah.
Each arm is a different cost.
Yeah. Depending on how many arms you want. You start with 1. They give you that for free.
Yeah. If you want all 4.
You want all 4. It'll cost you.
Yeah. What else you got?
I don't know. Do you have any transitions into that?
No, I gave up on transitions.
Okay. I know how you feel about transitions. Yeah.
Speaking of 4 arms, EA shut down one of its arms.
Oh!
Right before GDC, the game developer conference that happened last weekend.
Yeah, more or less.
EA shut down PAXeast, which is the company that is known for The Sims and SimCity.
Right.
So, little history lesson. They essentially acquired this PAXeast label. They came out with the game Spore. This was a long time ago. And then Sims and SimCity. Since then, they've kind of pulled... Like, obviously, The Sims is now just a brand.
Yeah.
Same with SimCity. And EA's just kind of started pulling that away from this PAXeast that they owned. And
which is what they do.
Yeah, which is what they do. They suck the life out of something. And then once it's shriveled up, they... give it the axe.
But they shrivel it up.
They shrivel it up.
Certainly they prey on struggling companies that are able to be bought out like that.
Yeah.
But then they
take them for everything.
They strip them for parts. They do not try to make them like a healthy, sustainable company on their own.
No, yeah, they probably just...
They take the name, they take all their games, they take all the rights to everything, and then they shut down the studio.
So it's sad news in terms of just like, well, a bunch of people lost their jobs, and it's sad news that EA has now grown more powerful. But they've already had this company for a while. So
I think really 99 maybe is when they bought them.
For Sims fans, Sims is going to still live on.
Yeah.
SimCity took a pretty big hit. I imagine it'll still live on.
Yeah, they're not. They said that they're not getting rid of those franchises.
Yeah.
If SimCity doesn't come back for a while, it's because of the problems of the last game, not because the company doesn't exist anymore. So,
but like all the people who essentially were original are no more.
Yeah.
So the Sims won't be the Sims. It'll, Sims 5 will have microtransactions and guns for some reason.
Yes. But yeah, if you're keeping track, this is close to a dozen companies that EA has bought and then closed. Some is as soon as like 3 or 4 months after they bought them. I think this is one of the longer ones.
Yeah, this was certainly one of the more, I guess, fruitful for the company that was purchased, because they immediately weren't out of a job.
Yeah.
I hate EA. Sometimes they release good things, and it pains me to see that logo come up on a game I enjoy. But for the most part, they take everything that's good in the world and they turn it awful.
Right.
I mean, I think of like my favorite stuff, like, well, not even my favorite stuff, but like I look at the Mass Effect series, I can definitely tell where EA started popping their influence in. Back when like Madden and 2K both had football games, or EA and 2K both had football games, and it was like a good, healthy rivalry, and they kept one-upping each other.
Yeah.
And then they were just like, no, F you, we're just going to buy the NFL license. And then Madden
killed
just
everything.
Sucked.
Right.
And like nobody...
Because it could. Because it's like, what are you not going to buy a football game?
Yeah.
Right.
And so now it still sucks, and their license is running out, but no one's going to challenge them for it.
Until NFL Blitz comes back.
Yeah. I don't know. And then when they get a game that's a hit, they sit on it forever. Mirror's Edge, I really loved Mirror's Edge. That came out of like one of their small independent companies, and they sat on for 5 or 6 years, and they announced it, but we're still not seeing Mirror's Edge 2 anytime soon.
Right. And I mean, the same thing I've talked about before, but like, Dead Space. Dead Space was a new IP that came out of a studio they owned.
Yep.
First one was kind of a sleeper hit, so the second one they got a lot of money for, and then the third one EA kind of took over and gave it to a different company to make, and it was shit.
So. Vote with your wallet, people, and don't vote for EA.
Yeah.
All 4 of you listening.
Yeah, I mean, and they also bought Harmonix for a hot second, and then sold it.
Yep.
Sold it for $1.
I mean, if you want to believe that, like, Darth Vader's real, like, and evil truly exists, then you don't have to look further than EA.
Yeah.
They're also the ones that shut down the servers the most, if you're people who, like, play online.
Yeah. It's because they force you to buy the newest games.
Yeah.
They always have dedicated servers, which means that as soon as they turn them off, you can't play the multiplayer aspects of them anymore. Yep. So with the sports games, like, they do it like 18 months out max now. You don't have much time.
Biannual at the longest.
Yeah.
Like, there are some games that hold on just because there's like a huge fan support for, FIFA 2012 or something like that. But like, usually by the time the next one's out, you have maybe 3 months to pick it up. Otherwise, you're done playing online. I mean, 2K is not better if we're just talking sports games in terms of server shutdown. But
Yeah.
still, like, EA's notorious for doing it and not giving you a lot of notice either. It'll be like, hey, next week we're shutting down servers.
Yep. Too bad.
Go get a new one.
Well, yeah, for a while there, like a year or two ago, maybe it was a little bit longer, but they were like, hey, we should shut down the servers. They didn't give any notice.
Yeah.
Like, somebody else had to find out that they were closed before they, like, even announced them.
Great company.
Speaking of EA,
Ooh.
so Battlefield Hardline's coming out next week.
I like how we badmouth EA.
I know.
You're going to be like, here's a game I really want to get from them.
Yeah, but I forgot what I was going to say about it. Oh, it just it's on. They have like the EA Access Hub or whatever, which is like subscription based service that you can buy into and you pay. I think annually. You can probably do it by month. You get access to all their games. So there's a rotating catalog, back catalog of games that you can play for free infinitely, and then you get games early. And you get demos of games, and for Hardline, you can play it for 10 hours. You can do whatever you want in the game for 10 hours. So they haven't locked any aspects of the game. They just put a time limit on it. So that's kind of cool. So I mean, you can play it, try it out for 10 hours if you want, and by then, 10 hours is enough to know if you like the game or not.
Oh, for sure. Like if you already have the EA Access program, this is kind of a no-brainer. I would not recommend that this makes you get.
No. Because for that price, you could just buy the game.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter.
I wish I could make that transition.
Work into something else?
From Hardline to... Speaking of hard...
Yeah.
I completed
put on your
Rogue
pants.
Legacy.
Okay, yeah.
Completed Rogue Legacy not too long ago.
It's not really news, but I'll allow it.
I'm trying to make your transition work. It's personal news.
Yeah.
It was hard.
Yep. That's all? That's all we got?
It has a new game plus mode, which is pretty great. All the bosses are harder, and they just leveled up the enemies.
Uh-huh.
But
Do you get to carry over
everything you purchased. I finished the game with surprisingly less deaths than I thought. Only 75 deaths to beat the entire game, which seems like probably a lot. But at the same time, like...
No, it doesn't
It took me 20 deaths to beat the first head boss.
Yeah.
So I assumed that would be the trend of, like, 20 through 5 bosses and be around 100.
Yeah.
But once I beat the third boss, like, on that same guy, I was just like, well, I'm just going to see what the fourth one looks like, because I already got to the door. And then beat him on the first try. And I was like, oh my god! And then, I was like, well, let's just see what this last guy looks like. Didn't beat him on the first try, but it was enough to be like... Oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
Very rewarding. Recommend that game.
Yep.
I know that's not news, but that it fit the transition. I couldn't waste it.
Yeah. So there's a rumor that Quantum Break is going to get pushed back to 2016, which is Remedy Studios' sort of MO at this point.
Nothing ever comes out
Alan
on
Wake
time.
took like 16 years to come out. Not really, I mean, but it was supposed to be a launch title for the 360, and it came out like last year.
Yeah. Not even last year.
No. But yeah, so that's I would not be surprised if it got pushed back. But that sucks. Not that Xbox needs an exclusive this year or anything, but I just want to play that game.
No, I mean, I like what Remedy has done.
Yeah.
I liked when they did Max Payne in the past. I thought Max Payne was really cool, and obviously every game copied Bullet Time since then.
Yeah.
I've liked Alan Wake. I know not a lot of people did, because for them, the hype built from a launch game.
Yeah,
but I mean, that's obviously, like, you buy into that yourself.
Yeah. Some say it's too human.
Some say it's too human. But I mean, I like everything they've done. I mean, I imagine I'd like Quantum Break if I played it. I don't like the idea of, like, the TV show wrapped in. I'm glad they kind of scrapped that idea.
Well, they didn't, like, scrap it, but
disc.
It's like, yeah, it's on the disc, and you can watch it if you want.
So, I mean, I'm sure it'll be a good game. They usually, at least my belief is that they won't release a broken game. Like, obviously they haven't released a recent game on these new systems, but like Alan Wake and even the Max Paynes, when they came out and they were completed products.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to release a game and then be like, oh, we have a patch day one that's 600 gig. Like, Assassin's Creed or stuff like that, where shit's just completely broken.
Yeah.
I imagine that they're pushing it back for a reason. And
yeah, for sure. No, it's not like, oh, I want the game now even if it's broken.
Yeah.
It's certainly, I want them to release the game when it's what it's supposed to be, when it's finished and not broken. But I'm just saying that as a fan that's looking forward to this game, I would just like them to be done now.
Well,
I'm not upset that if they push it back, but...
Yeah, it'll be for the good of the cause.
Yeah. So speaking of TV show tie-ins to video games...
Sure, okay.
So Dead Rising Watchtower, which is a
poster.
Crackle exclusive.
Ooh.
It comes out March 27th. But, I mean, I don't know. Why are they doing this? I don't know why, basically. I was just going to say that again.
I don't know. Because it's Crackle, though. So, like, who... Like,
I know, but it was like...
It's not
why?
It's not like, you know, like, hey, a real company got this.
But then why do it?
I don't know. Why
Like,
do Sharknado?
that's even less of a reason to do it. Yeah, but it looks like it has slightly higher production values. And it's like, Sharknado was at least on Sci-Fi Network, which a lot of people already have. Like, this was not a thing that's going to drive people to use Crackle.
No.
And you don't have to pay for it. So it's another reason, like, why?
I don't have an answer for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought when I played the first Dead Rising, I mean, it's just Dawn of the Dead.
Right.
So it's like I never would even thought like, oh, this would be a good movie because they already
it was a
made that
movie. Yeah.
Certainly
it's more tongue-in-cheek and over the top and,
yeah,
silly.
for sure. But it's like it's survivors trapped in a mall surrounded by zombies.
Yeah.
Like,
No.
are gonna
Yeah,
get
for
in,
sure.
So. Next news.
And also the PlayStation exclusive
Heroes.
series Powers.
But
basically the same thing, yeah. It's like, it's a world of superpowered people, and there's a guy, a detective, it's basically Wolf Among Us, but with superpowers instead of Fable characters. I haven't seen it yet. I heard it's okay.
I've heard it's decent for being a PlayStation
exclusive.
I should say a video game exclusive. Like, that's not saying PlayStation can't make good TV or Xbox.
No, because
games,
it's Sony, and Sony Television and Sony Pictures obviously knows how to make entertaining programs, but...
To be released on video games, it's decent. It's not... People aren't going to go get a PlayStation 4 so they can watch Powers.
Right. No, and you can watch it online for free, so it doesn't matter. You don't even need a PlayStation. So I haven't seen it yet. I'm considering watching it just so I can comment on it, and also because Eddie Izzard's in it, and I kind of want to see him. He plays a character named Wolf, so I'm like, I'm interested.
Wolf, Bigby.
Yeah. So there's... I don't know, what do you think of... I mean, you sort of talked about it with the Quantum Break thing, but that's sort of the trend of trying to make tie-ins to TV shows.
Well, okay. I would classify them as two different things.
Yeah.
The Quantum Break idea initially, for those unfamiliar, was that it was essentially going to be an episodic game that was also going to tie into a TV series that was separate.
Yeah.
And that you would play a chapter of your game, and then you'd tune in that week to watch how the transition between chapters makes sense, and then you'd play chapter 2 and essentially. And
supposedly there was some sort of connection between the way people were playing the games would determine.
Yeah, I imagine it. My guess, obviously they didn't release this, so I imagine it'd kind of be Walking Dead, Wolf Among Us at the end where they have a stats page, and it'd probably just take a majority and say like
they'd
80%
shoot
of
two
people,
endings to one thing, and then they would whatever based on people were doing.
I don't know. I guess my thing is I would have never... I just know my own habits, and I wouldn't have set time aside to make sure I watch this or make sure I play the next episode like immediately after. Like, to me, that's too much of a time commitment to try and match those up. I'm okay with it with games getting turned into TV shows if they're not... I don't know.
If they're not just available like on your console to watch for free, because there's not going to be any budget to it. Nobody's going to be involved that's important in it, so it's just going to be... It's like a,
it's like a movie. It's like video game movies to me. It's just like, I can see why you did it.
But worse.
Yeah, but worse, exactly, because you have less of a budget and you're going to release it like, this is a Xbox Live specific, or this is a PlayStation Network specific. It's just like...
Because when the goal is to not make money off of it, they're not going to try that hard.
Yeah, it's going to... So, I mean, good for them for branching out and making it, and maybe it gets enough decent reviews that people tune in. But at the same time, like maybe I'll watch it if I hear 100 great things. But I could care. There's too much other shit in the world for me to...
good stuff, too.
Yeah, good stuff for me to sit and try and digest, the Powers TV show on PlayStation.
Yeah.
Or the Halo or what was the Before Dawn? What was the one?
Well, there was Forward Dawn to Dawn, and then the newest one was Nightfall.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
so bad.
I'm not gonna set that one up just so I can play my video games better.
Also, I think a problem with this is they're trying to emulate like quote unquote real TV, which is like a week to week thing, and it's not good enough to sustain an audience that long. So just do it like Netflix or something where the entire first season is all available at once, because I think people are more likely to watch more. When it's like when the next one episode ends and the next one just starts, you'll be more likely to watch it, and like you have a much higher tolerance of bad stuff if you kind of watch it all,
Yeah.
Like when it's week to week, it's like, well, I don't care enough to come back each week.
No,
but if it's
exactly.
I will spend an hour or two watching the entire first season.
Or even if you just put it up there, and you can still make it tie in, like they can still do the Quantum Break thing, where it's just like you can play an episode and then watch and stuff like that. But then, put it all up there so I can play at my pace.
Yeah. Which is what's ended up happening.
Yeah.
But only because the studio closed down.
But don't do it on a week-to-week basis, because if I'm not at that point or I skip an episode or something like that, then all of a sudden I'm just like, well, I'm not going to watch any of the others. Yeah. Because clearly I missed episode 2, and that's the big one. That ties into the whole story.
Yeah.
Meh. I mean, that's my feeling on
everything.
Pretty much, but like the TV-specific stuff, the Dead Rising movie, the Hitman new movie that Caitlin said she saw a trailer for.
Yeah. So bad.
And we've stated this before, and we did talk about the movie thing, but you can't make a Hitman movie. You can't. I've conceded the point, because
I still argue that maybe you could, but nowhere near what they haven't even tried to make it like they should.
Like the Hitman game's about stealth.
Yeah.
And most people probably don't want to watch a stealth movie unless it's done really, really well. Yeah. And this is certainly not going to be done really, really well. So you're going to have an action movie about a shaved head man shooting rockets at helicopters. Right. And it's like, okay, well, congratulations, you made an action movie, but now you've completely ruined whatever thought you were going to go. Is it Timothy Olyphant still? No. Good, because he sucked in the first movie.
Yeah. It was supposed to be Paul Walker.
Made me hate him as an actor.
Yeah, it was supposed to be Paul Walker, and then that happened. And so then it's a guy from Homeland. I don't know if you watched that TV show.
As long as it's not Vin Diesel.
No, I mean, he's a decent actor, but this role does not...
suit him?
Yeah. And his head looks weird shaved. Like, the shape of his head is not right. I mean, they really should have just cast based on look for this, because you really don't need to be a good actor. And, like, the way their Agent 47 is, like, socially inept and unable to, like, acclimate to the world, which is the complete opposite of what he is in the game.
I don't know why they just didn't. The actor who voices Agent 47 is a bald-headed man who already has the voice. Yep. And
it makes too much sense. They don't cast voice actors in live action things like ever, even though they should.
I'm sure he's acted before though. That's the thing.
I know.
Like,
yeah.
So it's just like, you're gonna make a shitty movie anyway. Why not at least get the voice and the guy who plays him? Yeah. So then people can, if anyone in there for whatever reason saw this movie on accident, then at least they'd just be like, oh, it's the voice from the game. Yep. And then they'd walk away, because that's how this movie should be treated.
Yeah. They should instantly change the channel.
It should be put on a Blockbuster TV, and there's only like 4 Blockbusters left in the world, so you can look
They're
at it.
They're all in one block, each corner.
You can look at it while you're picking out your movie, and then you just go, oh yeah, okay. And then you just get something else, because don't rent that.
No. So speaking of watching movies and TV shows on video game consoles, so PlayStation...
This transition is going to be awful.
I know. So PlayStation 4 finally got HBO Go, the app, and you can watch all that stuff. So it's been a long time. Like, it's really behind, because they announced it was supposed to come out when the console did, 18 months ago. Anyways, but if you have Comcast is blocking the service So you still can't use HBO Go.
Is Comcast and EA run by the same guy?
No, but Comcast is the EA of like everything else.
Yeah.
The problem is they're like a huge conglomerate now. They own and are owned by everything. But I think they were all pissed off about not winning net neutrality. So instead they're like, we're going to flex our muscle wherever we can.
Ugh.
So that's, I mean, I don't know if we need to say anything other than just,
the net neutrality was a win for mankind.
Yeah.
And then the fact that Comcast still exists is kind of like a win for the devil.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, 6 one way, half dozen the other. Like,
right.
Congratulations. Now Netflix isn't going to charge us more for streaming movies.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if Comcast wants to, they can just start
well, they
fucking
kind
up.
of that's kind of what they're showing that they can do. Like, hey, that's fine. You don't want to give us more money. We'll just shut off things other ways that we have, permission to do.
I mean, eventually, I'd like to believe that other powers that be will start stepping into the market. Like, here's the thing: Comcast and AT&T are pretty much your only providers,
right?
But if Comcast starts like blackballing these things and just being like, "Oh, you can't use this and you can't use this," to me, right now they kind of have a truce where they don't impede on each other's territory,
right? And that's the problem. And so they kind of have a monopoly because it's just two companies dividing up land, and they both have full control in those areas.
But
so without competition, they're not going to change.
It would make sense that if all of a sudden, like, Comcast starts getting this huge negative press, which they already have, but if they start getting more, like, AT&T should kind of break that truce and just start sneaking into these areas and have everyone switch, and then they can truly be the monopoly.
And then they're going to be like, oh yeah, well then you can't have NBC now on AT&T or DirecTV.
Yeah, I mean,
because they own everything, and they're like, you can't have Universal movies now on your services. So
I mean, it's a lose-lose.
It's because there's too many companies that are all part of one huge Scheinhardt Wind company now. So
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So everyone start filming your own TV shows and movies now, because in about 5 years, it's the only thing you're going to have access to watch.
Yeah.
It's stuff that's on your little portable.
Right. Until they also buy Google/YouTube, and then
until they just
charge you for all that stuff.
Like buying souls of human beings.
I think they've already done that.
Well, I mean, the common folk.
Yeah, okay.
They can just buy a town, and they're just like, everyone that lives in the northern suburbs of Illinois now are Comcast employees.
Yeah, therefore we own your soul.
Yes.
All right, it's your turn for a transition out of that.
Speaking of soul owning...
Yep. Murdered Soul Suspects is on sale this week. It actually is.
Oh, well, I wasn't going to go for that. Speaking of having your soul sucked out of your face, VR is a big thing.
Woohoo!
And...
So I know this is not what you want to talk about, but it sucks that guy that created the HoloLens got killed. Did we talk about that?
No, I don't think we did.
Yeah,
we did.
Hit and run, yeah.
Yeah, car crash.
Yeah.
It does suck. Obviously, anyone dying that's not the leader of Comcast or EA is a total bummer. If it is one of those two, rejoice in the streets, I'll buy everyone pizza.
Yeah.
Which can't hold me to in a court of law. I didn't prove anything.
Yeah.
But no, VR, obviously with the... First of all, let me back up. Valve had their own big meeting. They announced a bunch of stuff. Most of the stuff I don't think anyone cares about. They made Source 2 public, blah, blah, blah. They didn't announce any cool games. But they announced that they are entering the VR market with HTC, called the Vive, V-I-V-E, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, all the names are like all the same, and they're all stupid, and they're all kind of punny, and they're all just bad.
Yeah. So they released that. Then we get to... And they say it's going to be out this year.
Which I don't believe. Because this is the first we're hearing of it, even though there have been rumors for a while.
Yeah.
And two, they never release anything on time.
No. But then we get to GDC and PAX.
Yeah.
And PlayStation's Morpheus, which is their virtual reality.
Which looks pretty cool.
Says that, yes, theirs is releasing before Valve's.
Yeah.
And that they're going to be the first out of the block.
Which is how they do things as far as console releases, so.
Obviously, I would love to sit here and say that I've tried any of these systems, but we are nobodies with no press.
Yeah.
So I can only go on what I've heard. Other people who are way more informed than me.
Yeah.
They say Valve's seems to be the superior system right now. But obviously they've tried the PlayStation ones. I guess the breakdown is Valve is better, the superior system. PlayStation is the more comfortable system.
Yeah, I was gonna say because everybody says like the comfort and the design of Morpheus is the best.
Yeah. I've heard people describing tech demos that they get to play, and it sounds fantastic. VR in general. Yeah. I'm just speaking now.
Well, they're smart. The things they're choosing for demos are always like gonna be fan favorites.
I'm scared
that it's gonna become a thing.
I'm not scared. No, I want it to be a thing. I've always wanted VR to be a thing. Like my ideal situation is just like give me VR like basketball, and then like that can be my workout, and I'm playing a video game.
Yeah,
like make me. Obviously, you have to find a treadmill or something. I don't know how they're going to do it for like space for people at home, because obviously right now everything's in a big conference room. It's like empty besides like one chair. You sit in that chair and then they pull it out from under you and you're in VR. But like that'd be amazing if I could do VR basketball and I could simulate being on the court and playing against people when there's no one to play against. That doesn't scare me. What scares me is the fact that like all this stuff is moving super quick. Like this is 2 years ago, VR was
not a thing. It was
not
dead.
A thing.
Yeah.
And then you hear these trickles of Oculus, and you're just like, oh, that's cool. Some crazy guy's working on it.
Yeah, some crazy guy started Kickstarter.
And now all of a sudden, like every company has kind of a VR, and some of them are shipping this year, and we haven't. There's been no announcements of games or anything. It's all just tech demos.
Right.
And
they're trying to get the tech right.
We don't know pricing. We don't know like the setups. Like a lot of I'm worried that if this fails for any of the companies, it's like a bankrupt situation.
Well, the thing is, I think the reason that they haven't announced games or haven't announced anything is because they really do have. This is like their last chance for like 50 years maybe to get this right.
Yeah.
Because if they come out too soon, they come out with bugs. It's too expensive. If this dies, nobody's going to try to do VR again for a very long time. So I think as an industry, a VR industry, they're kind of like, okay, let's not like we want to be first to market, but we also don't want to kill the dream. So,
I mean, I'm torn. I would love to again get a VR system in my house, but I guess I really wonder how consumer friendly these things are going to be. The Morpheus apparently can hook up to your PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
So obviously there's going to be some weird like games that are all of a sudden compatible with controller or headset.
And you got to imagine that Valve's thing is going to be the same.
Yeah, and it probably will hook up to the Steam boxes. Which side note,
Steam boxes
got officially announced again with a new updated controller
for like the 18th time.